I think the session is started.
Yeah. Welcome all of you to the second process session. And for this session we have three presenters, Silva Costa, Douglas Güler, and Yada Malakane. And we will start by Silvia Costa, and she's from University of Brescia, Italy, and she will have a presentation named Digital Building Permit and Small Size Local Authorities in Italy. Perhaps I should also present myself. My name is Lars Harrier from Lund University, Sweden, and I will share this session. But now the word is Silvia's. Please.
Good afternoon to everyone. Yes, the presentation is titled Digital Building Permit and Small-Size Local Authorities in Italy. Nowadays, the digitalization supports the architectural engineering construction process through the adoption of methods and tools of information modeling and management. The Italian government is actually planning to help the digitalization of the public administration since 2005 with the Digital Administration Code. To continue, in 2017 was published the ministerial to regulate the gradual implementation and mandatory use of BIM methods and tools in public procurement. With the digitalization, the intent is to transform the information into machine-readable data, with the aim to improve processes. The building permit is an indispensable authorization in AC sector that gives permission to start the construction phase of a building project. It connects the public authority with the client during a process of town planning with the aim of guaranteeing a controlled development. Nowadays, the currently still manual building permit process is a time-consuming and subjective activity that may lead to ambiguity and inconsistency in assessment done by sample checks. On the contrary, the information management aims to obtain transparent, unique, and shared data. A digital approach could optimize the building permit procedure based on data analysis and comprehensive evaluation. In Italy, first research works on the topic of BIM-based code checking are dated back to 2012, when tools like Solibri Model Checker start to be implemented in research activity. The focus was first on large public clients like Public Works Authority of Lombardia and Emilia-Romagna and local authorities like Municipality of Milan. The mandatory introduction of the BIM implies an approach to digitalization, also for small authorities, which are of high interest since their capillarity on the national territory. It is necessary to underline that great efforts are needed to achieve good results, and technological change must be accompanied by a methodological change to allow the success of a process. In fact, results from previous research activities highlight the need to support public administration for education of officers in terms of digitalization and use of new tools. The right use of digital information system contributes to the increased efficiency of the code checking in general and of the authorization process, as is the building permit. The methodology, which follows the step introduced by Eastman in 2009, is a scalable one. It could be applied for translating in computable rules both local regulation and regional as well as the national law. The aim is to understand what type of requirement, regardless of the specific source, could be translated into computable parameters in order to reach the semi-automation of the procedure. In Italy, building permit regulation might be different in terms of parameter values, but they are similar in their structure. In the next slide, we can see some examples of the previous research. Here, the rule set that is organized in three different checking phases: BIM validation, clash detection, and code checking. Each of these sections is then organized in set of lower level divided by themes and type control. And to conclude here, an example that shows the interpretation of Italian narrative and the structure of the informative content of object. Nowadays, compared to the previous experience, we want to move from the adoption of technology tools to the analysis of process to support digital innovation, even in small local authorities. In this sense, the research project aims at investigating how the automated checking procedure could affect the digital maturity and practice in this context. A case study is progressed in close cooperation together with a local authority officer and clerks. The town, Lomazzo, is located in Lombardy region. Nowadays, in Italy, the dematerialization of a building permit procedure is commonly adopted following the requirement for digitization of the digital administration code. Digitization is currently taking place through online platforms that allow the sharing of information in heterogeneous formats and through unstructured data, therefore not machine readable. The aim is to match dematerialization, which is still based on document, with the effective digitalization of the building permit procedure, which is should instead based on data. For this work, three are the main requirements: analysis of as-is process with the business process modeling, of codes and regulation for building permit into machine readable rules. The methodology proposed in this study aims to understanding the level of automation that can be reached in the building permit process and the related level of information need, which is a preliminary activity for restructuring local regulation as machine-readable rules, and in this sense, it could be generalized to a national level. The current building permit process has been analyzed using the business process modeling notation, and taking into account the national as well the regional legal constraints, which are featuring the process. This method is useful to understand as-is process and to evaluate the possibility of a reconfiguration of activities, roles, and responsibilities in terms of digital transformation. In the process are identified, represented by the line, the different stakeholders. The colored part identifies the main steps, and every one of it contains specific activity in chronological order. The ultimate intent to be achieved by means of the digitalization of a digital building permit related procedure stay with exploiting the engines proper to the BPMN tools in order to establish a data-driven interactive and predictive process. This map has already been validated in a meeting with the clerks of the municipality of Lomazzo. The subject of the case study is a building consisting of 4 floors above ground. This building has a residential design use. The presence of information models during this process effectively support any request for integration or modification of the project originally presented. It is important to note that the presence of federate information model in the preliminary and deliberative phase following the design one would extend to the phase of carrying out works, technical testing, checking viability, and staking. In the case study, the regulation has been manually translated in order to be machine readable and to highlight the level of information need for the building permit case study. Solibri Model Checker, the software used, support checks in different countries, and it allows users to customize rule set. The code checking rules validate the information against the Italian current regulation, the regulation build residential building code of Lomazzo. IFC models and their parametric attributes were managed with the necessary classification. Here in this slide, you can see some images about code checking results from residential building code, such as the validation of space, accessibility, and communication elements. Standards and interoperability of adopted technology are essential when managing information, aiming to guarantee a certain level of efficiency in this automated process. To conclude, the definition of a property level of information needs The innovation of a process and the translation of codes and regulation into computable rules could support the local authority in increasing the efficiency of a process in terms of time management as well as objective of evaluation. For this reason, the work presented will be validated by a representative panel of small local authorities. The single case study represents the opportunity to test the worker as well to evaluate the level of information need related to this specific BIM use case. Investment for the next generation can be useful to continue in this direction. As limit for research, we can identify scalability because we use a scalable methodology, but this methodology is still in the testing phase. Resistance of the officers to change, and moreover, they often report a lack of time to be invested in education and innovation. And this research develops in an investigation phase, so it is not a real project. Possible future works could be related to the comparison of a traditional workflow with a digital-enabled one in order to analyze improvement in terms of wasting, adopting a lean perspective. Moreover, I've seen represent a set concept and category in AEC domain, showing their properties and the relation between them. In this sense, interesting technology born with the semantic web are linked data that are structured data and semantically represented in graph database. This technology is a further advance to the integration of data and verification of some constraints. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Silvia, for a very interesting presentation. And also, if anyone have a question, please add it to the system. While you are doing that, I will start with some question here. I mean, you describe an interesting application here of rule checking. Do you think both on the architect building side as well as the authority side would have usage of this, or which one do you think have the main usage?
For sure, for architectural side, but our research is trying to improve this part in the authority side, so to learn to the officer of the municipality to learn how to do it and show them how can be a better activity in digitalizing this procedure.
Okay, so what do you think? I mean, how much could you actually automate this process? And is it, I don't know the status in Italy, is it legally possible to have a fully automated system?
We are in previous phase now, and we are just trying with them how could be in the future. Now in Italy, some part of this process is already digitized in the meaning of dematerialization, because this procedure now is not automated, but we can use platform online and translate the document in other document, but on this platform. So it will be for sure a very difficult process, and it is necessary a lot of work. I hope that in the future, yes, there will be a complete automated process.
Okay. So if there is no other hand or question, I will have just one final question here, and that was the last remark you made, that you could utilize semantic web and linked data, I guess, kind of RDF data. So what type of advantages do you see using that technology?
If the use of this technology could be done, all the question, you can do all the question to your data and know which data are new, which one you can see the history of your data, and it will be more easy to do modification. But to do this is necessary a great effort, because we need an ontology, and we need to have unique data with quality. But nowadays is a problem, because sometimes the problem is that there are a lot of data that are not machine readable, and sometimes it's difficult to find them. You don't know which one is the correct one, or so the use of linked data could be easier in this sense. But it needs a big effort to do it.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much. And during you have speaking here, there have been a comment from Angelo. His remark is that it's difficult to answer my question, because nothing could hamper such an approach in Italy. Nonetheless, the challenge lies within the case of the consent's refusal. I don't know if you want to add something more to this, or yes, or perhaps I could give you the word. Now I'll see if I can manage this. Francesca, do you know really how I could give the word to Angelo?
Yeah, I think that Angelo, you should raise your hand so that Lars can give you the microphone. Lars, sorry, yep. I take the opportunity. There is one more question in the box. Can you see it?
No.
Well, so maybe I can read it for you while Angelo will raise his hand. So you mentioned resistance to change by officers. Experience shows that digital transformation projects are 20% technology change and 80% people change. Would you agree?
Yes, we mentioned that. I didn't understand the last part, but we mentioned that it is difficult from the office to change, and we mentioned also that the technological part needs a methodological one change. I mean, I think that the change of the software, so the instrumental, will be easier with the change of the generation, because the actual generation in the public authority is not so common to the use of a lot of technology. So also this needs time, I think.
Okay, now for Angelo, I think you have a microphone now. I don't think we hear your voice. Do you have? I'm not. Okay, sorry, we don't get that right now, and perhaps we can take it later on. And it's time to go on to the next presenter. Thank you very much, Silvia, for an interesting presentation. And now it's time for the next presenter, Togas Güler from Istanbul Technical University in Turkey. And please add questions to the system during the presentation.
Silvia, can you close your presentation? Thank you.
No, you have the presenter view is shown now.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'll present the workflow that contains digital building permit for Turkey very briefly today. And I will start with the problem description and current state of art in Turkey in terms of the different topics such as the building permit issuing, 3D system models, and 3D registration of condominium rights in the buildings. If you put that's the building permit issuing in Turkey, now the 3D models are used, even though 3D models of buildings are available. If we know there's a increasing trend for the BIM adoption in countries, and there's a similar thing in Turkey. Buildings are now modeled with BIM technology, and there is a need for digitalization and automation, of course. And in the current building permit procedures, there is a lack of transparency, and also there is a heavy paper workload, and the review procedures are relatively slow, and also compliance checking is done manually. Middle of the slide, you can see the number of the building permit and occupancy permit numbers based on the last 10 years. For example, 2017, there are more than 100,000 building permits were issued in the Turkey. In bottom, you can see the current building permit procedures in Turkey. The procedures, of course, start with the submission, and after that, the responsible organizations do compliance checking and issue the building permit. And after that, the construction of the building can start, and also there is an inspection of the building during the construction phase. After construction is completed, the firm should apply to same responsible organization to obtain a occupancy permit that permits to dwell in the buildings, and also benefit from the public services such as the natural gas, electricity, and wastewater. And in Turkey, the facilitating the building permit issuing is mentioned in the latest strategic plan of the Ministry of Environment and Urbanization. Also, at first time, BIM-based building permit procedures is mentioned in the National Smart Cities Strategy and Action Plan, which is also prepared by Ministry of Environment and Urbanization. And also there's a development plan in Turkey, which includes the years between 2019 and 2023, which is also in this plan. Also, it is mentioned the necessity of digital transformation, and also there is a government transformation as part of the digital transformation of countries. There is also a government transformation in Turkey right now, and there is lots of application in this system. And the building permit issuing is an important element of a government transformation. And also there is a project called E-Plan to obtain zoning plans digitally and exchange them between different organizations, interoperability. and there's a data standard for this project called PlanGML. And if you pass the 3D models, of course, we know that these models are helpful in different applications in the city management, such as the facility management, infrastructure management, energy demand estimation, and also property valuation. And it is important to ensure the up-to-dateness of these 3D models. And also there is a growing trend to integrate the GIS and BIM domains, which is called GeoBIM. And also there's a need for 3D models compatible with international standards in Turkey. And there are some projects related to these 3D models. For example, Turkey National Geographic Information System, which is a project that aims to complete national spatial data infrastructure for whole country. And in this project, the spatial data schemas, including building, are prepared and shared to use by the different governmental organizations, like the the Directorate of Geography Information System. And these schemas is compatible with international standards like the STGML and Indoor GML to be used in the future studies like the indoor navigation. And also there's also an initiative called Building Information Repository, which aims to collect the IFC data of all buildings that are constructed in Turkey. And also it is mentioned the increasing the maturity level of GIS as a smart city component in the same smart city strategy and action plan. And there is also a very related project, this topic called 3D city models and cadastre. This project aims to produce the 3D city models of all cities, and also to delineate the ownership rights in the buildings related to condominium rights using these produced 3D models of buildings. If you pass the 3D registration of condominium rights in Turkey, right now there's a 2D based registration is applied even though the buildings are modeled in 3D. And there is also depiction of ownership rights in multi-parts building might be insufficient right now. And there's a need for digital integration with building permitting because there is a relationship between building permits and also registration of cadastral rights in Turkey. There is a condominium law in Turkey that is currently applied, and this law mandates that the cadastral registration should be applied according to approved building permit report. And also there is a need for the 3D models formatted with international standards like IFC, and there's also need for the transition to 3D cadastre. And we have a conceptual workflow that includes these topics. As you can see from the figure, there is a digital building permitting process in upper in the figure. There are regulations and computer readable rules, also IFC and STGML building model to use in the compliance checking. And also there are different databases in this workflow, like the National Cadastral Database, also Digital Zoning Plan database, also, as I mentioned before, Turkey National GIS database, and also there is a 3D building and urban database to be used in the checking, and also to update this database using the as-built model. And after the construction phase, as I mentioned before, there is the occupancy permit phase to develop the building, and after that, the workflow continues with the 3D registration of condominium rights using the as-built model of the buildings formatted with, for example, IFC. And there are different organizations involved in workflow, like the local agencies and municipalities in the building permits and occupancy permit processes, and also General Directorate of Land Registry and Cadastre involved in the 3D registration of condominium rights. And we can say that the workflow uses the digital building models within, and it contains the automatic or semi-automatic compliance checking. Also, it allows for the multi-party building design due to accessibility for the various spatial data, and also it allows for obtaining the as-built models in IFC format, and it allows the unambiguous representation of condominium rights, and it allows the updating the 3D models thanks to the as-built models. And this presented is based on the paper that was published in Land Use Policy Journal. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Douglas, for an interesting presentation. And for the questions, there have been one question added, but that's for all panelists. And I think we could start with some questions dedicated more directly to Douglas, and then I'll go for this more for everyone. So please add if you have a specific question to Douglas. I will start to have one presentation, one question here, and that is in your presentation you mentioned the zonal plans and the works. So what is the current status? Because if you were looking into your proposed workflow, you had like into the whole system of a database containing all zonal plans. So how long time do you think that would take to realize such a technical solution?
I think it takes lots of times, at least for example, the national data infrastructure of the country is not absolutely completed right now, and also there is a database to need to digitalize, like the zoning plans, and also as we know, there is no governmental project for the building permit issuing, digitalization of building permit. And yeah, I think it takes time in Turkey, but there are some aims to be mentioned in the latest strategic plans. So there will be project in near future, I think.
Okay. So, and another question about data. What is the opinion from your AEC industries? I mean, architects, construction companies, and so on, by handing in the BIM models to authorities?
And in Turkey right now, some of the big projects should be prepared using the BIM models, like the metro stations or airports, etc., like the big project. But the the adoption of BIM is increasing in Turkey. Most of the building permit applications is based on the CAD files, 2D CAD files, compared to design files. But I think the in the architecture history, people are using BIM in regularly, and then it should be. I think it can be mandatory use in BIM models for the building permit process to digitalize the in terms of the digitalization of the process.
Okay. Now to the more general question to all panelists from Frank Doherty. So how important is it for evidence of compliance with national building standards to be openly available to the public? Compliance is a society's requirement of developers, not private or commercial sensitive, I suggest. So do you agree with Frank here, or I think all presenters here could comment this. So anyone that wants to start?
I think applicants should be able to see the results, but all of the results maybe not to be open to all the public.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that only the applicants should have complete view of the outcome of the building permit request, but maybe in statistical evidence, in a statistical showing of issues in building permit process, yeah, maybe they can be available also for all the community, because I think it's a sort of a transparency. Look, this year or in the last 5 years, I don't know, we identified these issues with new renovation, for example, with renovations, for example, or other issues with new construction. So maybe it can be interesting to see this kind of statistics also for all the citizens, but for a specific case, for a specific application, I think only the applicant should see the result.
Yeah. And Silvia, do you want to comment this as well?
I am agree with Giada, even if in Italy transparency is very important in the public authority. So maybe they will do something about this, and they will decide how to or which data can be transparent and which one are related only with the applicant. Or maybe you can ask to the authority to show, and if the applicant give you your permission, it's not not important, but subjective data. I mean, maybe you can share with who does the request.
Yeah, right.
Okay, good. And Frank has commented this. It was, I think, as Giada presented, and he writes here as a comment. We consider in the UK the Greenfall disaster and the problem uncovered. There is maybe a social imperative for more open access. So that's his context.
Yeah.
I surely think this is an interesting discussion, and hopefully we could find some time later on during this workshop to go on with this. And of course, you are free to write comments in the chat, I think, about this. But now we need to leave the floor to Giada for make her presentation. And the presentation is BIM for the public authorities, basic research for the standardized implementation of BIM in the building permit process.
Yes, thank you very much, Lars. I promise this is the last of my presentations. Yeah, this is a work that we have done some years ago that represent for us our fundamentals on all the developments that we are now trying to carry on. So some years ago we started working with public administrations, and in regard of building permit, we found a lot of cliches, such as it's not possible to make this process digital because of so many rules, so many ambiguities, so many exceptions. And actually, we found out that we didn't have evidences of these sentences. They were just cliche, common places said by people around us. So we said, why don't we try to study the building permit process in order to find out if it's really in this way, because we work in a context where most of the municipalities are very small. So we have to be able to find the right way to introduce them to BIM and to digital building permit. So this work was for us a sort of base research that we now use as a sort of benchmark for every of our developments. So let's start. This research study was developed in 2018 with the contribution and in collaboration with the University of Graz, the Technical University of Graz, in a master thesis work, and in collaboration with the Association of the Municipalities in South Tyrol, that is the region where we come from. So the study is focused mainly in creating an awareness, a knowledge around the building permit process and its opportunity to digitalize it. So we want to fill a sort of a gap in the information management on the building permit procedure. So we started analyzing the building permit process in Italy and in South Tyrol. Just a very quick overview, because other presentation talked about the situation in Italy, but we mainly focused on regional and municipality level, of course, because at national level we have the building code, the public procurement code, and then at regional and municipal level there are more specific requirements, both regarding the public procurements and also the urban planning law, that at municipal level are shaped into the municipal building code and the land use plan. Of course, everything under the umbrella of the digitalization of processes in construction. So the first activity was the development of the building permit process as it is today, in order to understand who are involved, when, what should be delivered at what time, and to whom are related the final decision of the process. Considering the municipality level in South Tyrol, the management of all the building permit procedure is supported by a server platform that is called GOffice. And GOffice was developed by the Association of Municipalities in South Tyrol with the aim of setting a standardization among municipalities for the digital management of the administrative procedures. including the building permit procedure. And the problem that we found out is that this platform is not mandatory. Only few municipalities actively use this platform, and so its potentialities are exploited just partially. So the process is the following. The person who wants to submit the building permit request has the opportunity to upload the design documents and the application form directly into the platform. The metadata are useful to store all the documents into the GOffice database, so also the applicant can fulfill this metadata that you can read here. However, it's not mandatory, the fulfillment of this data, and there is no classification or no guidelines on how to put data into these fields. However, we have the access to this database, and we have the opportunity to analyze the data contained into this database. We got access to the submitted building permit application of the last 5 years, so starting from 2014 till 2018 in our area of study. And we were able to analyze few data because few data were useful for analysis and reliable. So we divided the municipalities in small, medium, and large municipalities. Small municipalities are those with less than 3,000 inhabitants, and in South Tyrol, small municipalities are the 86% of the entire number of municipalities, and large municipalities are those with more than 10,000 inhabitants. Okay, so they are still very small, but for us are a large municipality. And you can see the duration of the process varies from small, medium, and large municipalities. We can see that small municipalities, the process takes a bit longer. And of course, the lasting of a procedure doesn't depend only the procedures depend. The lasting of the procedure depends also on how many times the procedure is submitted. In fact, in almost 20% of the cases, the application is submitted more than once, because our first reason is because of variation in the design, also along the construction phase, and also because of errors that technicians in the municipalities find out when evaluating the request. So designers and clients and designers have to submit the request more than once, and of course this makes the process longer, and as we can see in small municipalities is longer. Then we analyze another interesting result regards the typologies of intervention method in the building permit request. We found out 150 different types of typologies of request, and we tried to clusterize a little bit. However, it's very difficult to understand which is the real intervention, because there is this attention field type of intervention that we don't know what it is. Then we have, for example, refurbishment and requalification. So which is the difference between requalification and refurbishment? We can only suppose, because it's up to the applicant to the applicant or to the technician of the municipality to fulfill this attribute. So the situation was the following. This platform has a huge huge potential, but it's not exploited at all, also because the data quality into that platform is not good enough to provide, to also allow us to do additional analysis. And then also we found out that small municipalities need help in making their process faster. At this point of the process, we try to analyze also all the information requirements that are required in a building permit process. So we studied the 6 regulations that are the basis for a building permit process in South Tyrol, which are the applicant form to be submitted to the municipality for asking for the building permit of an intervention, the municipal building code and the land use plan, the form for statistics evaluation, which is more or less the same of the application for granting the building permit, but it's a different document. The regulation on architectural barriers, the regulation on hygiene and health, and then we have other technical guidelines, for example, the ones related with the energy efficiency of the intervention. So we developed, our methodology is based on the analysis of these 6 documents, and we listed all the requirements in an Excel sheet. We tried to categorize them and to define some classification. For example, we tried to understand how many times the same information is repeated, and if it's repeated into the same document or between the different documents. If the requirement is objectifiable or if not, and which is its unit of measurement, type of measurement, for example. And then, of course, if we are able to find out an IFC representation. So here comes the results. We found out nearly 450 information requirements required by the building permit procedure, and this slide shows how they are distributed among the source documents. And then we studied the redundancy of this information, and we found out that more or less the 20% of the information requirements are redundant, and of these, out of these 20%, the 40% can be found multiple times into the same source document, and the 60% of them can be found multiple times in different source documents. And another interesting result is that we have almost 40% of directly objectivable and quantifiable data. That means that I can say the maximum height of the building is 15 meters, for example, and I don't need further calculation on that. And then, of course, we have other analysis in order to understand which components are related, all these information requirements, in order to identify which are the most under evaluation components, let's say. So we have, of course, building components, but we see that also surroundings, urban location are very common. And we have found out that also almost the 30% of the requirements are related with movement, surfaces, and elements, for example, lift, stairs, and so on. And then at the end, we came out with the fact that most of the information, at least 65% of them, can be represented in an IFC files, and other 20% can be represented also in GIS. So this study told us that the 20% of the information requirements are redundant, so they are repeated more than once, that almost 40% of them are directly objectivable, which means that we can work with BIM models and with digital and computational method on that. And that the most interrogated components are the movement surfaces, stairways, and lift. And yes, we can use BIM models to perform this kind of analysis. The result of this first, and these are the the base, what we use as a monitoring when we do develop prototype, when we develop rule set or prototypes. We want to be able to reach that, to eliminate the 20% of redundant information requirement, the 40% of directly objectivable information requirements. So this is really our base research. And of course, based on that, we develop a first rule set focused mainly on information into the building, but we tried also to identify requirements related also that puts the building in relation with the context, so georeferencing, for example, and the footprint of the building, the cover area, and so on. And these are just a couple of screenshots. We did it in Solibri, but now we are moving to another system. And so these first prototypes provided us wider knowledge about information requirements are distributed into the building permit documents. And also, it was the first time that we met the association of the municipalities, and of course, they were surprised by this work and by this result. But they were also a bit concerned about the use of these kind of systems by their technicians. So this is the reason why we then moved to the concept of the GeoBIM project, trying to integrate also GIS data and try to develop a more easy system to be used. And that's all from my side.
Okay, thank you, Jana, for your presentation. And there is one question from Lennart Sanger. So, what are your conclusions from the large amount of second time or change add on the existing applications? Do you consider them to be handled with faster and more transparent due to the use of clear processes and object-oriented models?
I'm not sure if I've understood correctly the question. I mean, the second time or changed add-on to existing application. I'm not sure what do you mean with that. I don't know if
Lennart, if you want to clarify this, please raise your hand, and then I'll give you the microphone. So now I've given it to you. So
now it works. So you did show a chart.
Oh, we cannot hear you.
We don't hear you.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Might have been my headset. You did show a chart where you had a split and said like about 80% of the applications you were dealing with were like like second stage, they were handed in secondly, or it was like add in for like the first stage when people handed in information. And I wanted to know what was your conclusion from this procentual split. Do you think that this relies on the fact that this was in the past dealt with on conventional ways, like on paper written forms, and now you try to approach and to handle these issues faster with processes, with digital models and object orientation?
Yeah, yes, exactly. This is our goal. I mean, now we have a sort of baseline quantitatively calculated, and we know that we want to reduce that 20% of double request of the same of the same building permit request, because maybe with this kind of system and with BIMs you can design better, because you can visualize better what you are going to work on to do, and because you can maybe pre-check. As we have seen during our presentation today, our designer can pre-check its models. So it's, from my point of view, it's real, this to reduce that number. That our expectations. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
You're welcome.
I just have one more thing, and that was actually a question that was posted around an hour ago. And it could be raised actually to all three of you. So I want just a short answer on this question before we end this session. And that's the resistance to change by officers. Experience shows that digital transformation projects are 20% technology change and 80% people change. Would you agree on that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Without a strategy, without a clear mission, without a clear plan of change, it's really hard to then implement new technologies. It's not about implementing new technologies. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Silvia, want to comment this as well, or?
Yeah, I answered to this question before, but I'm agree, and for this reason, in our research, different from the previous one, we are trying to modify the process to facilitate the digitalization, and don't only focus on the instrument. So to give to the officer, to the workers, a process that is able to improve the digitalization.
Yeah, and Douglas,
And actually, I don't have real world experience about that, but I agree with Jada and Silvia.
Okay, so big thanks to all the presenters. You will not hear the applause from everyone, but I think that everyone thinks that they have made a good contribution to this workshop. And on the live chat, there is an interesting discussion that was initiated by Frank Doherty earlier. So please go in there. We don't have time really to discuss that topic now. Instead, we need to go on in the workshop, and I give the word to Jada, and he will present the interactive activity about maturity models. So.
Yep. Thank you very much, Lars. Yes, we are almost at the end of this first day of workshop. And as mentioned this morning when I presented the digital building permit maturity model, now we are going to towards the first interactive session about the evaluation of the digital building permit maturity model based on the process pillar. So this afternoon We have talked a bit about process, and now we want to, I would like to share with you, to discuss with you about the maturity model. So I will proceed sharing my screen. Okay, Chrome tab, that's it. Okay, I hope you see my screen. Okay, so the scope of the process pillar is to measure into the maturity model, into the maturity matrix, is to measure the maturity level of the current building permit process in becoming more efficient and automated. I remember you that the target of the maturity model is municipality, so I expect that a municipality can answer to this question, to this topic, in order to understand which is its maturity level towards a more efficient and automated process, building permit process. So the requirements of a digital building permit process are understand the necessary process steps. So I need to know the necessary process steps in order to achieve a more efficient and digital building permit process. The process steps should contain different spatial and semantic data. The process should be aligned at the European level, and also there should be a focus on standardization. So then the maturity for each requirements are 6. The pre-digital building permit process, the initial step towards this path, defined, managed, integrated, and optimized. Okay, so I will show you a slice of the building permit maturity matrix, and for each slide you are kindly asked to evaluate the relevance to the scope of this field of action. So the question is this part of the model relevant to understand the level of maturity of the current process, for example? Its accuracy, so is this part of the model representative of the concept it claims to represent, for example, understanding the necessary process steps? And the clarity of each statement, so of course, is it clear what it's written in this part of the model or not? And okay, so I will show you a slice of the maturity matrix in the screen, okay, on the presentation, and then you can type to one of your devices www.docmenti.com and enter the code that you see in this slide, 22695798, and you will find on your screen the 3 questions about the relevance, accuracy, and clarity. Sorry. So first of all, you can answer the question. Then you can comment. There is an open Q&A. It's not just a Q&A. It's not just for Q&A, but if you want to comment, we are pleased to collect and to discuss further these your comments with you, and then you can submit. Okay. So if you are ready, you can open www.menti.com and enter the code. So I launch now, okay, the first slice of the maturity matrix. You will have a couple of minutes to answer to these questions and to provide also comments. If you have any questions, let me know, but it should work. Okay. Okay, just a few seconds. I think 30 seconds till the end of this first. I will start showing also the results in this first part. Okay, so thank you very much for your answers and also for the question. Maybe we can move on to the next slide, to the next slice of the maturity matrix. This is related with the mapping of spatial and semantic data. So be sure, we have talked a lot about these things today. So please provide your feedbacks. Okay, we still have 30 seconds of time, more or less. Start showing the results. It would be nice to know also why maybe for some of you it's not so clear or so accurate. So if you want to maybe provide some thoughts on the comments, would be nice. Okay, so thank you very much. And let's move to the third requirement of the process pillar, which is the alignment at the European level. So if we want an efficient and digitalized automated process, we should also define a sort of an alignment at the European level. Thank you for your comments also. We will discuss them at the end of this exercise. So, okay, I see more comments here. Thank you very much. And we can move to the last of our requirements for an efficient and automated building permit process, which is standardization. Yeah, so what's a maturity level for the standardization topic on process? Okay. Okay, just more 30 seconds. As usual, we have some, I think it's not so accurate, so please would be very helpful to know why and how we can improve. Okay, so thank you. Now, just wait that I wanted to, for you to see all the questions. Okay, so now if you go on with your Mentimeter, you should see, oh no, wait, sorry. You should see all the questions from everyone, I suppose. No? Well, it doesn't matter. We can discuss about this thing together, so please, I'm not able to see your faces, but I will scroll down all the things that you have said. And if you want to add something, please go ahead. So then I have all the questions, all the notes related to each of the requirements. Here are just together, but just here. So regional, national, European are not similar to previous points. It can be confusing. Okay, maybe in the sometimes that's written at the European level or sometimes other regional, national. I think this is the point, right? The English language must be more precise to show we standardize the process description and the ontology of rule semantics. We do not standardize the process itself or the regulations themselves. Okay. Thank you for this comment. Manage level must show a measurable level of alignment. Optimized level must show a measurable level of improved outcomes. Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, thank you very much for this comment. Scotland was taken out of Europe, unfortunately. Until then, we had good integration with European standards and would not see how this would have been any different in this field. Okay, yeah, sure, thank you. Okay, why the file is empty? Sometimes we left some spaces empty because we haven't recognized yet how to describe that level of maturity. But of course, if someone has some ideas, can tell us. Okay, I don't know. I don't understand the I don't know sentence. Of course. Now we are working on a matrix, but in the future this will be a sort of a questionnaire. So we were thinking about that maybe the first answer can be I don't know, because a municipality in a pre-digital building permit process can be unaware of some topics. So this is the I don't know sentence, the not awareness of a topic. Yes, integrated is after. Integrated is after manage and before optimize. Yes, with integrated we means the first level with measurements that are able to be measured, let's say. Okay, so thank you very much. This is our small interactive activity. And of course, if you want to say something more, if you want to tell us something, please be free to share your thoughts with Mentimeter or even in the chat. So, and I'm only 5 minutes late. So, okay. Thank you very much to everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this first day of workshop. I'm leaving now the stage to Francesca for the closing of the day.
Yeah, thank you very much for participating today. A lot of interesting presentations were presented now today, and I could also notice some different level of progress maybe, but a lot of common patterns in our work. So the making of regulations digital and machine readable, the reporting issue, the importing of geodata and preliminary data within the modeling systems, the need of convincing municipalities and government to support the systems, which was also good. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you tomorrow as well. Now I will end the session, and if you like, we can still meet a bit in the lounge if you're not too tired of digital conference. And well, thank you, and see you tomorrow otherwise.